The Constitution assigns states responsibility for administering elections, but it also grants Congress authority to regulate the times, places, and manner of federal elections. That dual structure was intentional. It reflects federalism, shared power by design. Tonight's question is simple but consequential. Who should ultimately control elections? From the founding era, elections were meant to be decentralized in administration but unified in principle. Article 1. Section 4 gives states the initial authority to run federal elections, yet it also allows Congress to alter those regulations. That clause created flexibility. It prevented total consolidation of power in Washington. But it also ensured that national interest could intervene when necessary. The structure was not designed for efficiency alone. It was designed to balance authority. States would manage logistics, ballots, polling locations, certification processes. The federal government would preserve constitutional guarantees. For much of American history, that balance generated limited controversy. But shared power invites interpretation, and interpretation invites disagreement. When debates arise over access, security, or procedure, the boundary between state authority and federal oversight becomes visible again. The system was built for balance, not simplicity. Supporters of state control argue that elections are best administered locally. States understand their populations, geography, and infrastructure. In their view, decentralization strengthens resilience. A large rural state faces logistical realities different from a dense metropolitan one. Transportation networks differ. Population distribution differs. Administrative capacity differs. Local officials understand these variables in ways a centralized authority may not. Decentralization also distributes risk. If one jurisdiction encounters administrative challenges, the difficulty remains contained. A single national system, by contrast, concentrates consequences. Variation, supporters argue, is not necessarily inequality. It can reflect adaptation. States have historically experimented with early voting periods, registration systems, and ballot procedures. That experimentation can produce innovation. It can also allow states to respond quickly to emerging circumstances without waiting for national legislation. In this view, flexibility protects stability. And proximity to voters enhances accountability. Local officials answer directly to local communities. Decentralization, therefore, is seen not as fragmentation, but as distributed strength. Others argue that while states administer elections, national standards are essential, because the right to vote is constitutional, and constitutional rights require consistency. If voting procedures vary significantly across state lines, questions of equal protection emerge. Identification requirements differ. Registration deadlines differ. Access to early voting differs. From this perspective, variation risks creating unequal burdens. Supporters of federal standards argue for baseline protections, minimum guarantees that apply nationwide, not to eliminate state administration, but to ensure uniform safeguards. Historical examples reinforce this argument. When states imposed inconsistent practices that limited participation, federal legislation intervened. National standards were introduced not to centralize control entirely, but to correct disparities. Uniformity, in this view, strengthens legitimacy. If citizens believe that access depends too heavily on geography, confidence may decline. Federal oversight is therefore framed not as domination, but as reinforcement. Consistency, supporters argue, is a stabilizing force. Recent election cycles have intensified this debate. Court rulings, mail voting expansions, redistricting disputes. Each development revives the same structural question. Where does authority end? Supreme Court decisions have narrowed and clarified aspects of federal oversight. States have revised identification laws and mail ballot procedures. Emergency conditions expanded certain voting methods in some jurisdictions. Certification and audit processes became prominent national topics. None of these developments eliminated federalism, but they tested its boundaries. When election administration becomes highly visible, structural disagreements gain urgency. Political polarization amplifies institutional tension, and trust becomes central, not because the Constitution changed, but because perception did. Confidence in electoral systems depends not only on legal authority, but on public belief in procedural fairness. When trust fluctuates, structural design is re-examined. Federalism moves from theory to practice, and practice reveals trade-offs. This debate is not simply political, it is structural. Centralization offers uniformity. Decentralization offers flexibility. The tension lies between them. Centralized systems produce standardized procedures. They create predictability. They reduce variation. But they also concentrate authority, and concentration increases the impact of error. Decentralized systems distribute responsibility. They allow adaptation to regional conditions, but they also produce differences, and differences can be interpreted as inequality. Every institutional structure reflects trade-offs. Prioritize uniformity too heavily, and flexibility declines. Prioritize flexibility without guardrails, and consistency weakens. The question is not whether integrity or access matters more. Both are essential. The issue is calibration. Designing a system that protects constitutional guarantees while preserving resilience. Because democratic stability depends not only on how elections are run, but on whether citizens believe the system is fair. The Constitution allows shared authority. History shows adjustment. The balance has shifted before. It may shift again, but the enduring question remains. Which structure best protects confidence in the system? Should elections be governed closer to home, where local conditions shape procedure, or standardized nationally, where uniform safeguards apply everywhere? Does resilience come from distribution or from consistency? Federalism was designed to prevent consolidation, but it was also designed to protect rights. Those principles can align, or they can compete. The debate over election control is ultimately a debate about institutional trust, not about outcomes, but about structure, and structure determines stability. The Constitution does not provide a single permanent answer. It provides a framework, and frameworks require maintenance. Opposition point, structured debate, calm analysis.